Welcome to the best of first-person episodes from Phantoms and Monsters. Please like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads.
Mothman of Newton Abbot. My adventure into the unknown began back in 1990. I remember it was very hot that year in Devon, and the heat wave lasted for weeks. I think it was August. I'm not sure of the exact date, but I do remember there being a hosepipe ban in Devon and other parts of the country. I remember the grass being dry just like straw. I will never forget it. I was standing in the back garden of my old house when I just happened to look up and see something black far off in the distance. Whatever it was, it appeared to be descending from the sky, gliding through the air at great speed. It was heading in my direction and I was having real trouble identifying what it could be. It was too large to be a bird, and it looked like it was the size of a large man. I was very perplexed. As it got closer, I thought it was a skydiver. This is where my life changed forever. The creature unfolded its large bat-like wings and began to flap them with tremendous force. I could hear a whooshing sound as the wings of the Mothman-type creature made contact with the air. I was holding a glass of Coca-Cola in my right hand, and with shock I dropped it on the ground. I was so scared I did not know what to do. I just stood there gazing intently at the creature. Time seemed to slow down as the Mothman flew right over me, casting a large black shadow on the ground around me. I got a really good look at the creature. There was no visible head on its body, and on its chest there were two large round glowing red lights which I thought were probably its eyes. I could see the veins in the wings of the creature. That is how low it had been over my head. Its body was black all over, and it looked like it was wearing some type of tightly fitted all-in-one clothing that has the appearance of spandex, which had seams that ran down both sides of the legs. What really caught my eyes were the boots that it was wearing. They were heavy-looking, well-made, and had extra thick treads on them. The boots had protruding downward-facing triangles that were running down the sides of each boot. This Mothman creature sure was very strange-looking. I had never seen anything like it before. The Mothman creature flew off directly over Newton Abbot town center and off towards a wooded area where I then lost sight of it. I was left standing, shocked, shaking, and paralyzed by fear. What had I just witnessed? After this Mothman incident, I have been encountering UFOs and other strange phenomena on a daily basis. I have witnessed things that should not exist. I have photographed many different types of UFOs all across Devon. I have even photographed USOs entering and leaving the sea off the English coast. In previous reports I have wrongly stated that this Mothman incident took place in 1993, but I now know I was mistaken. I found some Polaroid photos that I remember taking days after this incident, and they have August 1990 written on the back of them. I now know this incident took place in August of 1990, and I only wish I know the date. All the best. JMR.
Mothman witness believes sighting was a warning before 1990 Plainfield, Illinois tornado. My Mothman experience happened in 1990, before I even heard of the thing. Long after, I watched the movie, The Mothman Prophecies, and decided to buy the book to learn more about this Mothman. I completely forgot all about my 1990 experience. Then all of a sudden I remembered what I simply put out of my head long ago. I had fallen asleep at my friend's house. At 3 a.m. I woke and decided to drive home. It was August and extremely hot outside. As I got to the end of the street, I stopped at the stop sign. I got this really strange feeling. My hair was sticking up on my neck. Nevertheless, I'm thinking, this can't be good. I looked and there was what looked like a man walking down the sidewalk. Not unheard of, but he stood nearly 7 feet tall as I saw this man in the streetlights clearly now. Being that it was nearly 90 degrees out, he had a very long trench leather jacket on and a cowboy hat. Now already, it's way too hot for that outfit. Getting more of a fight or flight feeling, I watched as he kept his head down. I saw no face. Suddenly, it turned and started to rush at me in my car. So I hit reverse and backed up super fast, just hoping it wasn't really going come after me. I say it due to the fact I am now 99.9% sure that's not human. So I put my car into drive and hit the pedal. I hit that thing and it flew over the hood and the top of my car. I drove 90 miles per hour all the way home. I figured if it was 1% human, I'd see a hit and run report on the news. But nothing. Later within the next week without any warning, Plainfield had the worst tornado in its history. An F5 tornado. People died and the town destroyed. Absolute major disaster. The August 28, 1990 Plainfield tornado. So, was it there to warn that something awful was about to happen? I know there were many UFO sightings right before also. MUFON recorded that. All I know is that thing wasn't human. This occurred before I ever heard of this Mothman. AD.
New sighting near Huntington, West Virginia. I am divorced and have two boys, 15 and 12 years old. Both of my sons were with me at the time of the incident. We live in Huntington, West Virginia. Moved here in 2009 from Milwaukee, Wisconsin because of my job. On March 2nd, we were traveling south on Route 2, Ohio River Road, just outside of Huntington near Cox Landing Road. It was around 8:30 p.m. We were on our way back home after visiting a coworker. About a mile past the intersection, I noticed something flying from behind a house on the right side. It was hard to make out at first, but as it came towards the road, it looked like a huge butterfly. Even though it was dark, the light from the side of the house illuminated it enough that I could make out a shape. I sped up to avoid coming in contact with this thing, but as I did, it circled around and flew just ahead of us on our right side. The wings were enormous and broad like that of a butterfly. It was strange because I never saw it flap the wings, almost like it was gliding. My boys were now aware of it and were terrified. I didn't want to stop the car, so I decided to speed up some more. After about 20 seconds, it suddenly shot up into the air and disappeared. One thing I want to mention is that we were under severe storm and flash flood warnings that evening. There were some high wind gusts and hail. There had been several tornadoes southwest of us in Kentucky. When we got home, we talked about it. My oldest boy said it looked like a person dressed in a black shiny suit. He didn't see legs or feet, but said the body shape looked like a tall, thin man. My youngest boy said he didn't get a very good look, but felt like something bad was going to happen. My description is very similar to my oldest son's, but the wings were massive and broad. I'd say the wings may have been over twice the size of the body. The entire thing was dark colored, but there was a faint orange glow from the head area. I never noticed a face or other features. Last week I was talking to a friend and told her about the incident. She found your name and contact information and forwarded it to me. She mentioned something about Mothman sightings in this area, and I read some of the stories. I'm not sure if this is the same thing, but it does fit the description. There were a few drawings on Google. Some are close to what I saw, but don't generally match the wing size. If you have questions, please use my email. I'm more curious of what I saw and anything else you can offer. I don't want to believe the Mothman stories, but maybe you have an explanation. Thank you for your time. NR.
Czech Republic flying humanoid. I live in a town north of Prague in the Czech Republic. My family and I have lived here for many generations. My homeland is full of stories about legends, myths, and ghosts. I had never taken these legends seriously until I had an encounter with this unknown thing. I looked on the internet and most of what I found led me to your site, Phantoms and Monsters. My home is near the Vltava River. I can look out from my second floor and observe the entire waterway. The time was close to 10 p.m., and I was sitting on the terrace on the second floor. I noticed a red light floating over the river. It continued for several minutes. I have seen many white and yellow orb UFOs over the river at night, but this was different. I then observed the red light move towards the riverbank in my direction. The light was gaining altitude and moving towards me. When the light started to pass over me, I could tell from the moonlit sky that it was a large bird with huge wings. The entire front of this bird was glowing bright red. There was no sound. As I watched, it started to circle above me without flapping the wings and was descending towards me. It slowly flew lower until it finally landed on the roadway beside my house, about 60 meters from me. The street lamp illuminated the bird enough to where I got a very good look at it. I can only describe it as a human bird. I read your stories about the Mothman and these match closely. One difference is the size. This human bird was very tall, I would say 4 meters. The head was very large and red light glowed all around the circumference. It had long legs and a torso like a man. It didn't walk but hopped like a bird. The wings were shaped like those of a flying fox. I watched it hop along the road for several minutes. Then it disappeared, just vanished. This incident took place in June 2013. I have not heard of other people seeing this human bird, though I'd be surprised if any of the local people would mention such an experience. I now receive your daily email, thank you. KT.
Humanoid owl seen by 2 witnesses in Hoffman Estates, Illinois. Hello, I am writing to you today in regards to the Mothman human owl. This is DG and JG. We live at the reserve in Hoffman Estates in Illinois, and our apartment complex is next to an empty cornfield, and across from Barrington, Illinois, there is a forest preserve. My husband and I live on the 3rd floor of the complex as we face another building, but can also see towards the cornfield to our right. We also have lots of trees around our building almost as tall as the building itself. We would normally go out to our porch every night to smoke a cigarette, and about a month and 2 weeks ago, late October 2019, we went out at about 9 or 10 p.m. We usually leave our phones inside so we can enjoy some chat and gaze upon at the stars, or even see a pack of coyotes roaming around the streets and apartments, or sometimes even heading back into the field towards the forest. Keep in mind this field has no crops, so it is empty and you can see towards the street. Well, that specific night my husband was to my right and he is taller than me. So I was talking to him taking a puff, when I noticed something in the pine tree, I believe it is pine, behind him. Right at the top of the tree, not in between the branches or nothing, right at the top. He noticed I wasn't paying attention, so he turned around to look, and sure enough there was what we thought was a huge owl looking out towards the field, then looking back around. So after a couple of seconds, maybe 30 seconds, we started to question each other. What is that? Is that an owl? This thing was pitch black, but its wings and shape were huge, as you can see that from the reflection of the sky, which was lighter. I recall continuing to smoke as we tried to examine this creature looking around. Once we had noticed it, I don't recall it ever looking at us. We were already a few minutes outside before I noticed it, so I'm not sure if he ever looked down at us. I was more focused on the body shape though. I could see huge long black wings. We couldn't really see any details as it was super dark. My husband was trying to get closer to the edge to get a good look at it, but we could really just see the long wings and huge shape. Well, after a while, we said, yeah, it might just be an owl, a pretty big one for sure. We came inside our complex, which is the roof of the building. Normally at night we could hear the animals climbing on the rails and roof, but our roommate, whose room is next to the porch, states he always hears something walking at night by his window or above it. I'm not sure if it's that creature. The tree is right next to us, so he can easily climb onto the building. We thought nothing of it until we read the article about a semi-truck driver who spotted something similar at O'Hare Airport, which is not far from here. Once we saw that, we just stared at each other because we recall what we saw. So we now know we weren't seeing things like this was legit. We sometimes step out for a moment to see if we find it again, but so far it's been gone. That's our story about seeing this unknown flying human owl. Feel free to email me back with any questions. Thank you. DG.
This is Lon Strickler. If you like this program, it would help us if you would give it a thumbs up. Then subscribe and click the bell icon so you get notification when we upload new first-person encounters. We have many more to come very soon. And by the way, if you have a suggestion or an experience of your own, please leave a comment.